9 First date rules that may surprise you. A great first date can be an exciting step toward a relationship, but a bad first date can be difficult to overcome. You want to be yourself genuinely, but you also want to impress your date. Since communication is the foundation of any successful relationship, a boring or overly negative conversation can sink a first date, as can other factors you may not have considered. If you're no stranger to dating, you've probably had many first dates after meeting people through dating apps, mutual friends, and chance meetings, most of which didn't lead anywhere. Not every first date will spark something more, but knowing certain first date tips can help you make the most of a date with the potential for connection. Is it a date? The first question to ask is it a date? You want to be very clear on this one to avoid getting your hopes up. You don't want to assume it's a date and then realizes the other person is just looking for a one-time hookup. Clarifying the difference is especially important in today's casual sex culture. Although rules for women may have once dictated that hookups and casual flings were off the table, rules for women have changed, and anything past a first date may not be expected by your date. Instead of relying on hints and speculation, don't be afraid to ask whether or not it's a date directly. Dates usually involve more planning and structure than hookups since you'll be spending more time getting to know each other and less with your clothes off. There's also the possibility that it's just a friendly get-together if they invited you out, so make sure there won't be other people there if you're aiming for a romantic night. Should you kiss on the first date? Should you kiss on the first date or not? The answer to this one is individual and dependent on multiple factors: the chemistries you have together, your comfort levels, and the right opportunity to present themselves. One study showed that 70% of participants had kissed on the first date. Nerves can lead to the first kiss being awkward, but passing up the opportunity to kiss sends a clear signal that you're not interested, whether or not that's the case. While rules for women may have once suggested that kissing on a first date implied something negative, this is no longer the case, and kissing on the first date is often considered a casual and even expected response. The best advice is to be prepared and let the moment unfold if you're hoping for kissing on the first date. Don't skimp on the floss and the breath mints and embrace the opportunity if it arises, but don't be disappointed if it doesn't. First date rules you need to know. Keeping the following first date rules in mind can help you feel more prepared and less stressed about making it a great first date before you head out. First date tips for women and men are fairly universal. The first date is important because it helps you gauge whether or not you want to pursue a relationship with them, but the anticipation doesn't have to send you spiraling into a panic attack. Keep your calm and commit to making it a great first date, even if things don't go the way you planned. 1. It's more important to listen than to impress. You may be worried about giving a good impression, mentally tallying your accomplishments, and trying to come up with witty anecdotes. It's more important to focus on what your date is saying. If you can show that you're listening, it gives your date the impression that you care about what they have to say. Several studies have shown that when the woman is the subject of the conversation, it helps establish a better connection and leads to a more successful first date. While this may seem sexist, it's always better to concentrate on listening than it is on impressing. 2. Your date shouldn't play second fiddle to your phone. If you have a habit, as most of us do, of scrolling through your phone during any free moment, you need to be aware and prepare accordingly. A glance is one thing, but if you're flipping through your phone frequently during your date, the other person will probably get annoyed and think that you're bored. No one wants to waste their time, and this kind of behavior will lower your chances of a second date. After all, no one ever exclaimed, "It was a great first date. He stared at his phone the entire night. I can't wait to see him again." 3. Avoid setting the bar too high. No matter how into this person you are or how much you want to impress them, don't drain your bank account to wine and dine them on the first date. If things work out, you'll feel pressure to outdo yourself with each subsequent date. It's better to start things off in a casual, fun location doing something that allows you to chat and get to know each other better. 4. Don't give them the impression that you're a stalker. If you're looking for prime social media profile tips, here is an important one. Even if you're interested in your date and have already scanned through their public social media profiles out of innocent curiosity, don't bring up something you saw on their profile if you want to make it a great first date. You might make them uneasy since it's just the first date. While it's perfectly normal to scope out your date, you don't need to talk about it unless you want to come off as a bit desperate and snoopy. 5. Leave the high heels at home. This advice isn't just regarding your height in relation to your dates. Since high heels make it more difficult to walk comfortably, wearing them can limit your mobility and irritate your feet if you end up going for a stroll or dancing. It's best to wear comfortable shoes since your date probably won't be paying much attention to your feet. 6. First date conversation shouldn't turn into a debate. If you're passionate about your political beliefs, you may be tempted to bring them up during a first date. After all, you don't want to start getting invested in a potential love interest, only to realize you two have conflicting views on issues that are close to your heart. But it's best to keep controversial, emotionally fraught topics and strong political opinions for at least the second date. The only exception is if you're sure that you and your date share the same political opinions. However, if things begin to get heated, it's probably time to switch subjects, as few people consider a heated, contentious debate a great first date. 7. Keep your alcohol intake to a minimum. A drink can settle anxious nerves and loosen your tongue, but more than one can start a problem. You want to keep control during a first date and not be too impulsive in what you say or do. You also don't want to give the impression that you have a substance abuse problem. Keep the drinks to a minimum and practice slowing down your breathing instead. 8. Mirror his or her movements to appear interested. Body language is universally shared among human beings, no matter their backgrounds. Up to 93% of our communication as humans may be nonverbal. One way to make your date feel at ease and engaged is to mirror their body language. You may already do this subconsciously, but you can also make a conscious effort. You don't want to make it obvious what you're doing. Still, subtly copying your date's body language using similar hand gestures, returning their smile, and positioning yourself in the same way they are can show that you're interested and help establish a connection. 9. Don't linger on past relationships. It's okay to mention your exes in passing, but you want to avoid spending more than a minute or two speaking about past relationships. Steer clear of dwelling on memories of your ex, even if your breakup isn't far in your past. Not only will it give the impression that you're not over them, but you may make your date feel like you'd rather be elsewhere. If you want it to be a great first date, avoid talking about any other first, second, or beyond dates you've had in the past, and focus your attention on the present.